The ship called Horizon's Edge moved slowly through the darkness of space. Captain stood at the front window and watched the massive station grow bigger and bigger. Nexus Prime, the capital of the Galactic Assembly, home to 47 alien species who had ruled the galaxy for 200,000 years, was a small woman with sharp eyes and gray hair tied back tight. She had served Earth for 40 years. She had seen many things, but nothing like this. The station was the size of a moon. Lights covered every surface like stars brought down from the sky. Ships of every shape moved around it like fish around a reef. Some were long and thin. Some were round like bubbles. Some looked like nothing had ever imagined. "Beautiful," whispered Doctor from beside her. He was the ship's diplomat, a tall man with gentle eyes and a soft voice. His job was to speak for humanity today. "I wonder if they will think we are beautiful too." Said nothing. She had read the reports. She knew what the assembly thought of young species. They called them children. They called them primitive. They called them problems to be managed. The ship docked with a soft sound. The doors opened and cold air rushed in. It smelled strange, like metal and flowers mixed together. A group of aliens waited for them. They were tall creatures with hard shells covering their bodies like insects grown to the size of men. Their eyes were black and showed nothing. The leader stepped forward. His name was, and he was the speaker of the Assembly Council. "Welcome to Nexus Prime," said. His voice clicked and buzzed, but the translator made it sound almost normal. "You are the humans, the new species from the outer arm." "We are honored to be here," said with a bow. "We come in peace and friendship. We hope to join the Assembly as equal members." Made a sound. It took a moment to understand. He was laughing. "Equal members," repeated. "How charming, how very young of you." Other aliens had gathered to watch. There were creatures with too many eyes, creatures with no eyes at all, creatures that floated in tanks of water, creatures made of light. All of them watched the humans with the same expression. It was the way a person might look at an insect on the ground. "Come," said, "the council will hear your petition." They walked through hallways that stretched for miles. The walls showed images of the Assembly's history, great battles won, great enemies defeated, great species rising and falling like waves on a shore. Humanity was not in any of the pictures. The council chamber was round and enormous. Seats rose up on every side, filled with representatives from every member species. In the center was a small platform where those who wished to speak must stand. Walk to the platform alone, watch from the entrance. Her hands were fists at her sides. "Honored members of the Assembly," began. "I am the voice of humanity. We are a young species, yes. We have been traveling the stars for only 300 years, but we have learned much. We have grown much. We ask now to join you, not as servants, not as children, but as equals." He presented humanity's achievements, their science, their art, their medicine, their philosophy. He spoke of human kindness and human courage. He spoke of their dreams for the future. When he finished, there was silence. Then the laughter began. It started with one species, then spread to others. Soon the whole chamber was filled with the sound. Different kinds of laughter from different kinds of throats, but all meaning the same thing. They found humanity amusing. They found humanity small. Raised one of his many arms, and the laughter stopped. "Your petition is noted," he said. "The Assembly grants humanity observer status. You may watch our proceedings. You may trade with approved species at approved rates. You will pay tribute for the protection we provide. You will not vote. You will not access restricted technology. You will not expand beyond your assigned territory without permission." His face showed nothing, "and if we wish for more." "Then you must wait," said. "Observer species may apply for junior membership after 1,000 years of good behavior. Junior members may apply for full membership after another 5,000 years. These are the rules. They have always been the rules." 6,000 years. Did the math in her head. That was longer than all of human civilization, longer than the pyramids had stood, longer than any human had ever waited for anything. "We understand," said quietly. "We accept your generous terms." "Good," said. "You may take your place at the back of the chamber. Try not to make noise." The humans were given a small section in the highest, farthest seats. From there, they could barely see the council floor, sat down and looked around at the other observer species. Some had been waiting for thousands of years already. Some had given up hope. Some had stopped coming at all. "They hate us," said quietly too. "Why?" Thought for a long moment. "Not hate, fear. Look at their faces when they think we are not watching. They are afraid of us." Did look, and she saw it. Behind the laughter, behind the scorn, there was something else, a tightness, a worry. The assembly had ruled for 200,000 years. They had seen countless young species rise. Most had failed. Some had threatened. All had been controlled. But humanity was different somehow. Did not know why. She only knew that she could feel it in the air. That night back on the horizon's edge, sat alone in her cabin. She thought about the laughter. She thought about the 1,000 years. She thought about the look in his black eyes. Then she opened a secure channel to Earth. It was a special channel, one that only 3 people in the universe knew about. She typed a single message. "They underestimate us. Begin Project Exodus." She did not know what Project Exodus was. She only knew that it existed and that it was humanity's secret hope. Somewhere on Earth, someone would read her message. Someone would begin something. And one day the assembly would understand what they had done wrong. Turned off her screen and looked out at the stars. So many stars, so many worlds, so many possibilities. "You think you know us," she whispered to the darkness. "You think we are small, but you have made a mistake. The worst mistake any of you have ever made." She smiled, small and cold, and went to sleep. Outside, the galaxy turned slowly, uncaring and vast. But something had changed. Something had begun. And nothing would ever be the same again. 100 years passed like water through fingers. Ambassador walked through the halls of Nexus Prime with his head down and his hands folded behind his back. He was the grandson of Captain, though no one in the assembly knew that. To them, he was just another human. Quiet, polite, forgettable. That was exactly how he wanted it. Had served as humanity's representative for 20 years. In that time, he had learned many things. He had learned how to smile when he was angry. He had learned how to bow when he wanted to fight. He had learned how to listen when others thought he was too stupid to understand. "Ambassador," a voice called, "a moment of your time." Turned, an old alien approached him slowly. Her name was, and she was from a species called the. They were a dying race down to their last few million. Their world had grown cold and they had grown tired. Was ancient even by standards. Her skin was like paper, thin and pale. Her eyes were large and sad, but there was kindness in her, a gentleness that had rarely seen in the assembly. Elder said with a real smile, "It is good to see you." "Walk with me," she said. "These old bones need movement and these old ears need conversation." They walked together through a garden built inside the station. Alien plants from 100 worlds grew in careful arrangements. Water fell from artificial cliffs. Birds that were not really birds sang songs that were not really songs. "You humans are strange," said after a while. "You have been here a century now. Other species in your position would complain. They would demand, they would fight. But you smile, you pay your tributes, you follow every rule." "We are patient," said carefully. "No," said, "you are planning." His heart beat faster, but his face showed nothing. "I do not understand." Laughed, a soft and tired sound. "I am old, Ambassador. I have seen many things. I have seen species rise and fall. I have seen the assembly crush those who threatened it and ignore those who did not. But I have never seen a species like yours." She stopped walking and looked at him directly. "You are too quiet, too content, too perfect. It is not natural. Said nothing, he only waited. I am dying, continued. My species is dying. We have maybe 100 years left, then we will be forgotten. So I have nothing to lose by telling you what I know. She moved closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. The assembly is afraid. They have always been afraid. Every young species is a threat. Every new civilization might be the one that finally challenges their power. So they created the rules, the waiting periods, the tributes, the restrictions. It is not about order, it is about control. And those who refuse to be controlled, asked quietly. They disappear, said, quietly, slowly, a plague here, a war there, a planet that suddenly becomes uninhabitable. The assembly has done this many times, they will do it again. Felt cold inside. Why are you telling me this? Because I like you, said simply. Because your species is kind to us when others are not. Because I hope that whatever you are planning, you will succeed. She touched his hand gently. Go, ambassador, do what you must, and when the time comes, do not look back. Far away from Nexus Prime, in a place no assembly sensor could reach, Director stood in a room filled with light. She was a small woman with white hair and eyes that never stopped moving. She had worked on Project Exodus for 40 years. She had given everything to it, her youth, her health, her chance at a normal life. And now, finally, she was seeing results. Show me, she said. The room changed. Suddenly she was floating in space, surrounded by stars. But these were not the stars of the Milky Way. These were different, younger, brighter. They belonged to another galaxy entirely. Andromeda, said a voice beside her. It was her assistant, a young man named. Colony Ship 7 arrived 3 days ago. They have found a suitable planet. Settlement is beginning. Closed her eyes. For a moment she allowed herself to feel something other than determination. She felt hope. How many? She asked. 2 million on Ship 7 alone. Combined with ships 1 through 6, we have 12 million humans in Andromeda now. Self-sustaining, hidden, safe. Safe, that word meant everything. Opened her eyes, and the technology. Advancing faster than predicted. Without assembly restrictions, our scientists are free to explore, free to create. We have made more progress in 10 years than we made in the previous century. This was the secret the assembly did not know. Every piece of technology humanity bought, they studied. Every restriction placed on them, they worked around. And everything they learned, they sent to the colonies in Andromeda. The humans in the Milky Way were just the visible part, the small part, the part that smiled and bowed and followed rules. But in Andromeda, humanity was growing, spreading, becoming something new. What about the others? Asked, the ones who stayed behind. His face grew serious. They understand their role. They know they may never leave. They have accepted this. 30% of humanity had chosen to stay in the Milky Way, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. They were the actors in a play that would last centuries. They would live normal lives, have normal families, die normal deaths. And all the while, they would be hiding the greatest secret in the history of the galaxy. They are heroes, said quietly, every one of them. She looked at the stars of Andromeda, so far away, so full of promise. Send a message to Ambassador, she said. Tell him Phase 2 is complete. Tell him to continue as planned. And tell him, she paused, tell him his grandmother would be proud. Back on Nexus Prime, received the message. He read it once, then deleted it. Then he went to a formal dinner with 3 assembly species who spent the whole night making jokes about how humans smelled. He laughed at every joke. He thanked them for their wisdom. He bowed when he left. And all the while, he thought about Andromeda. He thought about the 12 million humans already there. He thought about the millions more who would follow. He thought about the day when the assembly would finally understand. That night he visited Elder one last time. She was sleeping, but he sat beside her anyway. We are going, he whispered. Just like you said, we are going and we are not looking back." The old alien did not wake, but somehow thought he saw her smile. Outside the window, the stars of the Milky Way burned bright and cold. They had no idea what was coming. They had no idea what humanity had become. But they would learn. In time they would all learn. Investigator was not a suspicious creature by nature. He had served the Assembly's Intelligence Division for 60 years. He had watched hundreds of species. Most of them were exactly what they appeared to be: weak, simple, easily controlled. But the humans bothered him. He sat in his dark office, surrounded by screens showing data from across the galaxy. Numbers, charts, reports. He had been staring at them for days, and something was wrong, something he could not quite name. "Computer," he said, "show me human population records for the last 50 years. The screen changed. A line appeared showing human numbers over time. It went up slowly, steadily, nothing unusual. "Now show me human birth records." Another line appeared. This one was different. It was going down. Fewer and fewer humans were being born each year. "And death records." A third line, normal, steady, no increase. Leaned forward. If fewer humans were being born and the same number were dying, then the population should be dropping. But it was not. It was staying the same. Sometimes it even went up. "Where are they coming from?" he whispered. He dug deeper. He found other strange things. Human ships that disappeared from tracking systems for days at a time, then reappeared somewhere else. Human scientists who published papers, then vanished from all records. Human colonies that reported normal activity, but when checked, seemed emptier than they should be. It was like looking at a picture that seemed normal at first, but the more you stared, the more wrong it became. Requested a meeting with the new Speaker of the Assembly. His name was II, grandson of the original who had welcomed humanity 2 centuries ago. He was younger than his grandfather, but just as arrogant. "You are wasting my time," II said. He sat on his raised platform looking down at like he was something unpleasant. "The humans are nothing. They have always been nothing. With respect, Speaker, I believe something is happening. Their numbers do not add up. Their movements are suspicious. I think they are hiding something." II made the clicking sound that meant laughter. "Hiding something? The humans. They are the most transparent species in the galaxy. They follow every rule. They pay every tribute. They have never once caused trouble." "That is exactly what concerns me," said. "No species is that obedient. No species is that content. It is not natural." "Perhaps they are simply wise," II said. "Perhaps they understand their place in the universe, unlike some investigators I could name." The dismissal was clear, bowed and left. But he did not stop investigating. On the edge of human space, Admiral stood on the bridge of her flagship. She was a tall woman with a face like stone and eyes like fire. She had served in humanity's Navy for 30 years. She had never fired a shot in anger. She had never needed to. Today, she was conducting a training exercise, the largest in human history. "Report," she said. Her officer, a young man named, checked his screens. "All 200 ships are in position, Admiral. The Assembly's observation satellite is watching. Everything looks normal." Smiled, and the others pressed a button. The screen changed, showing something the Assembly could not see. Hidden in dimensional fold space, invisible to any known sensor, were more ships, many more ships. 50,000 of them. They were not warships. They were something else, something bigger. Each one was the size of a small moon. Each one was a world unto itself, capable of carrying millions of people across unimaginable distances. "The Exodus fleet is ready," said. "All ships report green. Colonists are aboard and waiting." Looked at the hidden fleet. 70% of humanity was already gone, living in Andromeda, building a new civilization far from the Assembly's reach. Today, another 20% would leave. By the end of the year, only the volunteers would remain. "Tell them to go," she said. "Tell them to go and never look back." One by one, the hidden ships disappeared. They folded space around themselves and vanished, jumping across the void between galaxies in the blink of an eye. The Assembly's satellites detected nothing. Their sensors saw nothing. To them, it was just another ordinary day. But it was not ordinary. It was the beginning of the end. Back on Nexus Prime, Elder lay dying. She was over 300 years old now. Her body had grown weak. Her mind had grown tired, but she had held on, waiting for something. She did not know what. Ambassador came to see her. He was older too, gray at the temples, lines on his face. But his eyes were still sharp, still kind. "You came," whispered. "Of course I came," said. He sat beside her bed and took her hand. It was cold and thin, like dry leaves. "I know," said. "I know what you are doing. I have known for years." Did not deny it. There was no point. "Are you angry?" "No," smiled, and for a moment she looked young again. "I am proud. You are doing what we should have done long ago. You are escaping." "We are not escaping," said. "We are choosing. There is a difference." "Yes," said, "there is." She closed her eyes. Her breathing was slow now, growing slower. "Will you remember us?" she asked. "When you are gone, when you are far away in your new home, will you remember the Assembly? Will you remember me?" Felt tears in his eyes. "Always," he said. "I promise, always." Smiled one last time. "Then go," she whispered. "Go and be free, and do not let them make you small." Her hand went limp. Her breathing stopped. The last of the who had shown humanity kindness was gone. Sat with her for a long time. He thought about her words. He thought about all the species the Assembly had crushed, all the dreams they had destroyed, all the futures they had stolen. "Not us," he thought, "not humanity. We will not let them make us small." In his office, finally found what he was looking for. A data fragment. A single transmission that should have been deleted but was not. It contained coordinates. Not coordinates in the Milky Way. Coordinates far beyond. Coordinates in another galaxy entirely. His blood went cold. "Assembly Council," he said into his communicator. "Emergency session. I need to speak to the speaker immediately." "The speaker is in recess," came the reply. "The council will not meet for 6 standard days." "This cannot wait 6 days." "Those are the rules, investigator. Please submit your request through proper channels." The line went dead. Stared at his screen. 6 days. In 6 days anything could happen. Everything could change. He did not know how right he was. Outside his window the stars burned steadily, but somewhere among them humanity was moving, leaving, disappearing. And the Assembly had no idea. The Assembly Council chamber had never been so quiet. Stood in the center of the room, surrounded by representatives from 47 species. They filled the seats that rose up around him like mountains. They watched him with 100 different kinds of eyes, and for the first time in living memory, none of them were laughing. "Say that again," Speaker II demanded. His voice was sharp, almost frightened. Slowly. "The humans are leaving," said. "Not just leaving their assigned territories, leaving the galaxy entirely. They have been doing it for over a century, and they are almost done." Silence, complete and terrible silence. Then the shouting began. Every species at once, demanding answers, demanding explanations, demanding to know how this was possible. The noise was deafening. The chaos was absolute. Speaker II raised his arms. Slowly, painfully, order returned. "This is impossible," he said. "No species has the technology to leave the galaxy, not even us." "The humans do," said. "They have developed something called dimensional fold space travel. It allows them to cross intergalactic distances in moments. We have nothing like it. We cannot follow them. We cannot stop them." A representative from a species of floating lights spoke. "How many have left?" Based on my calculations, at least 90% of their population. The humans remaining in the Milky Way are volunteers, actors. They have been playing a role this whole time. More silence. Then from somewhere in the upper seats a single voice. Let them go. What do we care if the humans leave? They were never important. Others agreed. Yes, let them go, good riddance. The galaxy was better off without them. But shook his head. You do not understand. They are not just leaving, they are succeeding. In their new home, without our restrictions, they have advanced faster than any species in recorded history. In 100 years, they have developed technology that took us 10,000 years to create, and they are still accelerating. So in another 100 years, they will be more powerful than us. In 1,000 years, they will be more powerful than all of us combined. We had the chance to make them our friends. Instead, we made them our enemies. The chamber erupted again. Fear now, real fear. The kind of fear that the assembly had spent 200,000 years making others feel. Now it was their turn. In the middle of the chaos, a door opened. A human woman walked in. Her name was Myra, and she was the president of United Earth. She was old, with silver hair and a face marked by years of careful waiting. She walked slowly, calmly, like someone with nothing to fear. I request permission to address the assembly, she said. Every eye in the room turned to her. Speaker II hesitated. He could refuse. He should refuse, but something in him needed to know, needed to understand. Permission granted, he said. Myra walked to the center platform. She stood where Doctor had stood 200 years ago, where he had begged for equality and received only laughter. She looked up at the assembled species of the galaxy, and she smiled. Thank you, she said. Thank you all for this opportunity. Thank you for the last 200 years. You have taught humanity so much. She paused, let them wait, let them wonder. You taught us that kindness is weakness. You taught us that patience is foolishness. You taught us that the only way to survive in this galaxy is to control others before they control you. Her voice grew harder. But we learned a different lesson. We learned that we did not want to become like you. We learned that we would rather leave than stay and become monsters. Speaker II leaned forward. Where are you going? Tell us. We demand to know. Myra laughed. It was a real laugh, warm and genuine. You demand. You have no power to demand anything from us anymore. But I will tell you anyway because I want you to understand. She pressed a button on her wrist. The walls of the chamber changed, showing stars, not the stars of the Milky Way, different stars, younger stars, the stars of Andromeda. We are going there, Myra said. And beyond, we have already spread to 12 galaxies. By the time you develop the technology to follow us, we will be in 100 more, 1,000 more. You will never find us. You will never catch us. You will never control us again. A representative shouted, You cannot do this. The rules forbid it. Your rules, Myra said calmly. Not ours. We never agreed to them. We only pretended to. She turned in a slow circle, looking at every species in the room. We are not angry, she said. We do not hate you, but we are done. Done waiting. Done hopping. Done believing that one day you would see us as equals. You never would have. We know that now. She lowered her head. Goodbye. At that moment, across the Milky Way, every human settlement went dark. Ships disappeared from sensors. Stations powered down. Colonies that had existed for centuries vanished in the time it took to draw a single breath. It was like watching stars go out, one by one, leaving only empty darkness behind. On Nexus Prime, humans walked calmly to their ships. They did not run. They did not panic. They had planned this for 200 years. Every step was practiced. Every movement was perfect. The last Exodus ship was commanded by Captain. He was young, chosen specifically because he would live to see humanity's new home. His daughter, only 6 years old, stood beside him on the bridge. What is happening, father? She asked. picked her up and held her close. Through the window, they watched the stars of the Milky Way grow smaller. The galaxy that had been humanity's home for millions of years was becoming just another point of light. "We are leaving," he said. "Why?" He thought about the question. How do you explain 200 years of waiting to a child? How do you explain patience and planning and sacrifice? "Because this place was not good to us," he said finally. "Because we deserve better. Because somewhere out there we will build something beautiful, something fair, something kind." His daughter pointed to a distant glow on the horizon of space. "What is that?" Looked, it was Andromeda, their new home, their new beginning. "That is where we are going," he said. "That is home." Back on Nexus Prime, President Myra was the last human to leave. She walked to the docking port alone, past alien guards who were too shocked to stop her. At the door, she turned one last time. "Remember us," she said to the empty hallway. "Remember what you did, remember what you lost." Then she was gone. The assembly sat in their chamber for a long time after. They did not speak. They did not move. They only stared at the empty space where the humans had been. Finally, Speaker II broke the silence. "What have we done?" he whispered. No one answered, because no one knew. They only knew that something terrible had happened, something they could never undo. Outside, the galaxy turned slowly, but it felt different now, emptier, darker. The humans were gone, and nothing would ever be the same. 500 years is a long time, long enough for stars to be born and die, long enough for empires to rise and fall, long enough for regret to become a permanent wound. Historian VII walked through the old records room on Nexus Prime. He was the 7th generation of his family to study the humans. His great-great-great-great-grandfather had been the investigator who discovered the truth too late. The shame of that failure had been passed down through the generations like a curse. The records room was dusty now. Few species cared about the humans anymore. They were ancient history, a warning story told to young ones, the species that escaped. But VII cared. He had spent his entire life trying to understand. Why had the humans left? What had the assembly done wrong? And most importantly, where had they gone? He found a data crystal buried in an old storage unit. It was human-made, small and simple. When he activated it, a hologram appeared. A human woman with silver hair and kind eyes. "My name is President Myra," the hologram said. "If you are watching this, then we are gone and you are trying to understand why. Let me help you." VII sat down and listened. "We did not hate you," Myra continued. "We were not angry. We were simply tired. Tired of waiting for respect that would never come. Tired of hopping for equality that would never be given. We could have stayed. We could have fought, but we did not want to become what we hated." The hologram flickered. "We left you gifts, hidden in places only the desperate would look. Cures for diseases you thought incurable. Solutions to problems you thought unsolvable. Star charts to resources you never knew existed. We left them because, despite everything, we believed you could become better." Myra smiled sadly. "We hope you find them. We hope they help. And we hope that one day, far in the future, you will understand that kindness is not weakness, that patience is not foolishness, that the measure of a species is not how much power they hold, but how they treat those who have none." The hologram faded. VII sat in the darkness for a long time. On a world called Sanctuary, in a system the Assembly had never visited, the remnant gathered. They were the descendants of the 10,000 humans who had stayed behind, volunteers who had given up their chance at a new life so that the rest of humanity could escape. Over 500 years, they had become something like legends. Other species sought them out, traveling great distances just to meet them. Today, a delegation from the Assembly had come. They were led by Speaker, the current leader of the Council. He was old and tired, his shell cracked with age. He had made this journey alone without guards or advisors. "Thank you for seeing me," he said to the gathered remnant. Their leader was a woman named. She was young by human standards, only 40 years old, but she carried the weight of 5 centuries on her shoulders. "Why have you come?" she asked. Lowered his head. It was a gesture of submission, something no assembly speaker had ever done before. "I have come to ask you to call them back," he said. "Your people, the ones who left, I have come to beg." Silence fell over the gathering. The remnant looked at each other, their faces unreadable. "Why?" asked. "Because we are lost," said. "Since the humans left, everything has gone wrong. Innovation has stopped. Art has died, hope has faded, the galaxy feels empty, cold, dead." He looked up, and there were tears in his ancient eyes. "We made a terrible mistake. We know that now. We treated you like insects when you were giants. We laughed at you when we should have listened. We pushed you away when we should have welcomed you. And now you are gone and we are alone, and we do not know how to live without you." Listened, she heard the pain in his words, the regret, the desperation. But she shook her head. "No," she said. His face crumpled. "Please, I am begging you. Whatever you want, we will give it. Whatever you need, we will provide. Just call them back. Tell them we are sorry." "They know you are sorry," said. "They have always known, but sorry is not enough. You had 200 years to treat them as equals. You had 200 years to show them kindness. You chose otherwise." "We can change," cried. "We can be different." "Perhaps," said, "but you will have to prove that to yourselves, not to us. We cannot save you. Only you can save yourselves." She stood and looked at him with something like pity. "Go home, speaker. Build a better assembly. Create a galaxy where no species is laughed at for dreaming big. Do that, and maybe, one day when we meet again, things will be different." Left with nothing, he returned to Nexus Prime and spent the rest of his life trying to change things. He failed. The assembly was too old, too set in its ways, but he planted seeds that would grow long after he was gone. Far away, in a galaxy humans had named New Dawn, a woman named Bora tended her garden. She was old now, with white hair and wrinkled hands. She had lived a good life on this world, raising children and watching humanity spread across the stars like flowers blooming in spring. Her granddaughter, a bright-eyed girl of 8, sat beside her. "Tell me a story," the girl said. Bora smiled. "What kind of story?" "A story about Earth, about the Milky Way, about why we left." Bora put down her gardening tools. She looked up at the sky, where unfamiliar stars burned with unfamiliar light. "Long ago," she said, "we lived in a different galaxy. We were young then and hopeful, and we thought that if we were kind enough, the universe would be kind to us in return." "Was it?" "No," Bora said. "The universe was not kind. The other species who lived there, they were afraid of us. They did not understand us. They tried to make us small, to keep us weak, to control us." "Did they hurt us?" "They tried, but we were clever and we were patient. Instead of fighting, we decided to leave. We built great ships and traveled across the void to new galaxies, new homes, new chances. And we found this place." "Yes," Bora said. "We found many places. Hundreds of galaxies, thousands of worlds. We spread everywhere and we built something beautiful, something fair, something kind." The girl thought about this. Were the other species bad people, the ones who wanted to hurt us? Bora considered the question carefully. She thought about everything she had been taught, everything her parents had told her and their parents before them. "No," she said finally. "They were not bad, they were afraid, and fear makes people small." She pulled her granddaughter close. "That is why we must never be afraid. That is why we must always be kind, even to those who are not kind to us, because kindness is strength, and strength is how we grow." The girl nodded, understanding in her own way. Above them, the stars of New Dawn blazed with light. Somewhere out there, in the galaxy humanity had left behind, the assembly was still trying to understand what they had lost. They would search for answers for 1,000 years, 10,000 years, forever. They would never find them. Because the answer was simple. The answer had always been simple. Humanity had not left because they were forced to. They had left because they chose to. They had chosen hope over fear. They had chosen kindness over power. They had chosen the future over the past. And in doing so, they had become something greater than the assembly could ever understand. Bora looked at the stars one last time. Then she took her granddaughter's hand, and together they walked back toward their home. Behind them, the universe stretched on forever, full of possibility, full of wonder, full of everything humanity had ever dreamed of. This was their future now. And it was beautiful.